Hi boys and girls. So we started a project called Op Art. Op is short for the word optical, which means eyes. So Op Art is an optical illusion or a trick that is played on your eyes. And we started with our Op Art shading blobs last time. I did show you a video on how to start it. Many of you did a wonderful job. I appreciate your hard work. This particular project, and I've said this to some of you, is going to take something called stamina. Stamina is pushing through things even when they're hard. And this kind of project is not really hard, but it's gonna take stamina because sometimes you're gonna go, man, I just wanna rush through this and I wanna get through this, because it is actually pretty easy. It just takes a lot of repetition and time. So it's gonna require stamina. And as a fourth grader, I think that you guys can do this. And I've done this with my other fourth graders before, and I know it's a little hard, but I'm wanting to push you because I feel like as a fourth grader, you're ready for this kind of challenge. But it requires that you take your time and you follow the directions and you don't rush through it. You slowly push through with stamina, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna re-show you how to start this, because I think there's a few of you that didn't quite get it and some of you are gonna have to start over. That's okay. Sometimes we make mistakes and we have to start over. So I'm gonna get you started once more, and then I'm gonna kind of catch you up on the second part once you finish half of the page, how we're going to continue our Op Art shading blobs today. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so we have here our expectation from last time for our Op Art, and many of you did a really great job with us. You started with a wavy line across your paper going horizontal. You have 8 dots, and then you kind of made your blobs move up and down the page, which was the expectation. I did notice a few friends that did some things though that we need to change and fix. Some of you overlapped your lines and got kind of messy. Each one of these spaces we're gonna have to go back in and we're gonna have to add color to them. We didn't want these really dark spaces here, so some of those things we're gonna have to fix. Also, we wanna make sure that our line is in the middle of our page, not the bottom of our page, and we were supposed to have 8 dots, not giant circles. So some of these things we are gonna have to go back and work on, and that's okay. But I'm gonna kind of remind you how to restart this for those of you that need to restart. You're gonna make your paper go horizontal, which means back and forth like this, not this way up and down. That's vertical. We want to go horizontal. You're going to make a little line that goes across your paper that's a little wavy. 8 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 of those dots are close to the edges of your paper, and then you're just going to bounce along each dot, making the last 2 dots, or the first dot and the last dot, kind of go off the page to an imaginary dot. So I don't have a dot over here, so I'm just gonna boink, kind of like it's going off the page. And I'm gonna repeat that a few times. And I'm not always gonna go down to the dot. I'm gonna try to go into the dip, which is the V shape from the one before. Okay, so I'm just gonna boink, boink, and I'm gonna keep going with that, okay, until I've got like 2 or 3 all the way across. Whoop, what did I do here? I kind of crisscrossed over the top of that other one. We want to be nice and neat, and that might require that I slow it down a little bit. So I'm going to go a little slower to do this, okay? And I'm going to bounce from dip to dip. At first you bounce from the dots, but then you go into the dips, okay? Then what we're going to do is we are going to focus just on 1 or 2 at a time. So I'm gonna stop, and let's say I wanna focus on this one. So when I build my blob, I wanna make these kind of bumps, but the 2 ends of the bumps, because it's made of a line that has 2 ends, the 2 ends of the bumps need to touch the bump before, and they can be really wide and they can spread out, or they can be really skinny. So this one I think I'm gonna make skinny. Notice how the end of that line here and the end of the line right here is touching the bump before. It always needs to touch the one before. You don't want to make it touch the next one. I don't want to take that line and take it down here. I always want to keep it on this bump, and I can make it wide like this. It's still touching the one before on this end and on this end, or I can make it skinnier and I can make it turn. So let's make it go this direction, okay? So there's my first one. I'm gonna speed this up to kind of build this up so I think you guys know what to do, but we are going to continue then with our next part. So let me speed this up for you. Okay, so now I've correctly done one side of my paper. So it seemed like it was, I don't know, pretty easy to do that now that I made a mistake and I know how to fix it. So if you need to fix it, then you can go ahead and go back and do that today. When you are ready for the second part and you've filled up half of your space, you're actually just gonna flip your paper over and we are gonna start the same way that we did before. So we're gonna go off the page and bounce from dot to dot, filling up our space with our bumps until we've completely filled up our paper. I'm gonna do this about 2 times, maybe 2 or 3 times, and I'm gonna go into the dip of the one before. I'm not gonna go all the way down to the dot. I'm not gonna overlap my lines. I'm gonna take my time. It's really important to take your time on this entire project, especially when we get to our coloring, because this takes stamina and pushing through and really giving it our full effort. Now I'm just gonna focus on one at a time, and I'm just gonna take that and I'm gonna complete my paper here. I'm gonna speed it up so you can see what it looks like once again, but this is a very slow process. I am really going slow here, so please take your time. Okay, so I've finished it up. When you finish up your artwork today, you're gonna take a picture of it and send it to me. Good luck, boys and girls, with your stamina. Be strong even when it's hard.